Where's my freedom? What became of my voice? What became of my voice? Where's my freedom? What became of my voice? Am I just another echo, lost in the noise? You promised liberty, you promised peace. Said this was a land where hate would cease. But I see the same lies, the same old game. Caught in the crossfire, upon the blame. I'm tired of being a victim of shame. Labeled and boxed, then tossed in the flame.
All I wanna say is they don't really care about us.
They don't really care about us. No, they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. No, they don't really care about us.
They don't care about us. All I wanna say is they don't care about us.
NAACP, BLM, voices raised, names on the list. They say they see change, but we're caught in the mist. Red or blue tie, just different suits. Talking the same talk, they don't walk in our boots. Every debate, every press release, a stage performance, but where's the peace? Man, if King was here, he'd be marching still. He'd be seeing through the smoke, fight for real.
All I wanna say is they don't really care about us.
They don't really care about us.
Nah, they don't really care about us.
No, they don't really care about us.
All I wanna say is
that they don't really care about us.
No,
they don't really care about us. It just was really, it hits home, and it's obviously that they don't care about us.
They don't care about us. They don't care about us. They don't care about us.
See, some things in life they don't want to show. What's buried deep down, what's hid below. If Malcolm was here, he'd shout and fight. He'd see the same battle, he'd make it right. Everybody's mad, situation's tight. Tensions building, wrong versus right. Black or not, it's the news they sell. Slinging division, a story to tell. Kick me, push me, mark me as weak, but you'll never break me. My spirit won't leak. You can't twist the truth, painted in lies. One day we'll rise and open your eyes. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Man, I really got a jam-packed show today, and I really want to get into it. So with that being said, I got Macker featuring Taste Supreme with Hate Anyways.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Hey. Had to switch it up, had to innovate. Niggas sleep 'em, let 'em sleep, let 'em hibernate. Hey, had to put my own food on my dinner plate. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Oh, they gon' hate anyways. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Oh, they gon' hate anyways. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Hey. Pops told me it was 50-50. Ay, crazy when your own niggas start to envy. I remember being broke, I ain't have a penny. I ain't leave the studio, I was so relentless. Ay, when you shine too bright, it's gonna hurt they eyes. Ay, tell them no once, that's gonna hurt they pride. Ay, they gon' finally speak about how they feel inside. The more you grow, the more that jealousy is hard to hide. Filled with ego, that's attractive, they ain't equal. Even Jesus was betrayed by his own people. Still no fear, they can't interfere. This shit was written before I was here. I had a vision and made it appear. I bet I see me a million this year. Yeah. Had to switch it up, had to innovate. Niggas sleep 'em, let 'em sleep, let 'em hibernate. Ay, had to put my own food on my dinner plate. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Oh, they gon' hate anyways. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Oh, they gon' hate anyways. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Oh,
niggas gon' hate. We call them haters, I hate those. Most of them broke, after they bankrupt. I walk around with a bankroll. Grab that bag, I get to that paper and I cannot stop to the bank. Bitches be mad, they bougie and basic, but I'm trying to get to these pesos. Never could I be the scapegoat. No pussy boy, no Woody. No, you can't hang, pull up with the gang. All in my lane, I'm in front of you. Saying I changed, not one in the same, but watch how that boyfriend is stunning. What? Whoa. I'm number one, you number two. What? I don't take L's, I take W's. Whoa. Ain't that the same as to swallow my kitchen and after we're home to go cuddle you? You cuffing and loving that bitch, she thinking of me every time that she fucking. It don't even matter, my pockets is fatter. I wanna, I take her for money. I will. I don't fuck with many, my circle is small, my nigga, cause I only talk with you.
Had to switch it up, had to innovate. Niggas sleep 'em, let 'em sleep, let 'em hibernate. Ay, had to put my own food on my dinner plate. When they lose on me, they gon' hate anyways. Oh, they gon' hate anyways. When they
Mac featuring Tay Supreme, and that was Hate Anyways. Um, this morning, there's a couple of things that I really want to get into and that I could get into. But the first is about, the government's lies, Epstein's shadow, and political hypocrisy. And I know a lot of people, maybe they're not paying attention or maybe they don't know exactly what's going on. But I really do feel like it's time for us to pay attention and to be focused on what is going on and what is ahead of us. So with that being said, actually, I want to get into a video that just came out last night, or maybe it was this morning, about breaking new footage of the Minneapolis school shooter, church shooter, whatever you want to call it, has came out. And that's what I really want to, probably like 10, 15 minutes of it or whatever. But so I want people to watch that. And I'll throw in some thoughts and maybe some other shit. But I really want people to pay attention to the things that are being said in here and watch what happens. So with that being said, here you go with the breaking footage of Minneapolis shooter who was trying to purchase guns at a St. Louis Park gun place, so gun shop.
We got some new footage of the shooter of Minneapolis. We're not going to say his name. However, the news loves to say his preferred name, which I heavily dislike. But last night, we got some footage of the shooter purchasing weapons just 5 days before the shooting happened.
Tonight, 5 Investigates has new video of the Annunciation Church shooter in a local gun shop 5 days before the attack last week.
Let's get right to investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen, who just obtained the video of Robin Westman.
Now, see, why do they have to say, first of all, his preferred name, and why do they have to say his name at all?
That video was recorded the Saturday before the shootings. And now the owner of Frontiersman Sports in St. Louis Park tells me the thing that stands out is that nothing stood out about the killer just days before they carried out that terrible attack. Some now call it the face of evil.
So you're telling me this is a trans woman? This right here, this is I'm supposed to now believe this is a woman? That's a dude all day, okay? I mean, not even trying to be a woman. Like, this is Robert Westman, okay? So this whole trans shooter thing, what I'm just seeing here is just a psychopath. Honestly, just a regular everyday psychopath, all right?
Face of evil.
The first time I watched all of this, I literally feel like I have to take a shower afterwards.
But when Robin Westman walked into this gun shop just days before shooting and killing children in Minneapolis,
we are devastated by this.
Owner Corey Krause says there were none of the classic warning signs.
He was friendly, he was jovial, he smiled, laughed, asked questions. He interacted with 3 of our staff in a friendly manner.
Cameras at Frontiersman Sports in St. Louis Park first recorded the would-be shooter just after 12:30 p.m.
Now, this is his dad's van that he's driving around. I think his dad was kind of like just enabling him to do whatever and say, here's the keys of the van, here's some money, here you go do stuff, right? And he's out here buying weapons. Now, he did not purchase any of the weapons he used in the shooting from this particular gun shop.
To me, I think that's important because I know a lot of people have wanted to say it was a transgender and everything. I think this just proves that there was really a mental health issue and people didn't really want to confront it. There was no, like the gun, and you'll hear later on in the video that the owner of the gun store really didn't see any clues or any red flags because it was a man. It wasn't a transgender that came into the gun store. It was a man, not somebody that was a trans woman. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people, and that his dad's work truck, even though the mom came out, wasn't really cooperating with police. And now she is because he has a lawyer. But it seems to me is like, did the parents have signs? Because I know the mom she really didn't believe. And, you know, I'll just get into it or whatever. But a lot of people, they claim to be, you know, Christians or people of God or people of the word. But then you allow, and that's why when I see Finke or I see Jenkins, I don't say her. Those are guys. Those are chicks with dicks. I don't care there's any other way around it. Those are women. Those are men pretending to be women with dicks. How is that a woman? So again, you can cosplay something all you want. You can have, you know, all the surgeries, but you can't take away that feeling if you're born a man or if you're born a woman. I know a lot of people try to hide it and say, oh, I'm not having issues. I can guarantee you, Leah, whatever she wants to call herself, Mr. Finke, has definitely mental health issues. Doesn't want to, and that's why you look at the voters in that area that you put Mr. Finke cosplaying a woman in there, and you think that your community or your neighborhood is going to get better. But how can it when you have a legislator that is pretending to be somebody else and expect them to do the right thing for your community?
Where he got those weapons from, but these weapons right here were not used in the shooting. But this is still just 5 days before the event happened.
The Saturday before the attack, wearing a shirt with "A Place for Well-Being" on the back, they spent 40 minutes browsing, holding, and aiming a wide variety of guns. At one point, even speaking with a fellow customer. None of the behaviors Krause says his staff is trained to look out for.
What could I have done? What could I have caught? There was nothing.
These are still questions you ask yourself.
Because you had 3 layers of seasoned veteran employees that know this stuff, and they can sniff this stuff out from a mile away.
Krause says the shooter did not get any of the guns or ammunition used in the attack from his store, ultimately presenting a valid permit to purchase when buying a small .38 special revolver not mentioned in search warrants. While the victims and their families will never be able to face their attacker, Krause says he's sharing this video with us with the hope of someday answering questions about how and why this happened.
The public only knows so much right now, and if this can shed some light on how this person was and how they were acting and what we do to try to prevent it, because, I mean, we work very hard to try to prevent this type of stuff.
Krause tells me his staff already shared this video with federal investigators who came to his store last week while he was away. Now, by law, authorities tell me they cannot reveal or identify where the shooter got the weapons that were actually used in this attack.
What stood out is nothing stood out about
At all.
And these are
still so eerie to see.
He says his staff works hard to try to identify it. In this case, they didn't have much to work with.
Okay. Thank you.
Eric, thank you.
Listen, I think, let me just kind of give you my opinion on this whole thing, all right? I think he's just a psychopath. And I think his parents were trying to deny the fact that he's a psychopath, even though they had early warning signs, you know, self-harming and lashing out against his siblings, all this stuff happening, right? It's parents often try to deny these things because they don't want their child to be the one, right? They don't want to call it out, and they definitely don't want to face the truth that their child might be a psychopath. And I think that's exactly what was going on here. And the mother was just saying, no, you're not a serial killer in the waiting. Like, you're not about to be murdering people. You're just dealing with certain issues, such maybe you're just transgender or something, right? And then she started kind of forcing her own woke ideologies onto him or something like that. However, we have another video where people are talking about that she was actually forced into doing it because of other people around her. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I think this is just a psychopath in the making, and they were just denying it. They were trying their hardest to ignore the signs to make sure that he could live a normal life without, you know, I don't know, being looked into and being watched and being examined or anything like that. But the FBI is now classifying him as a nihilistic, violent extremist. So let's check this out.
New details are coming to light tonight on what may have motivated the gunman at Annunciation Church. The shooter appears to fit the profile of a new type of criminal, becoming so pervasive that the FBI and Justice Department have created a new classification for it called nihilistic violent extremist. The agency says these criminals are motivated by a fundamental rejection of society and a desire to cause its collapse. Lou Ragoose joins us with more. Lou?
Well, Julie, to put it simply, a nihilist just wants to see the world burn. And the actions and writings of Robin Westman mirror others whom the FBI has classified as a nihilistic violent extremists.
We didn't have school shootings.
In his 30 years with the FBI, retired Special Agent in Charge Nick O'Hara dealt with criminals with destructive mindsets who killed by other means.
We had aircraft hijackings. We had tampering with consumer products.
But O'Hara recognizes the type of criminal now classified by the FBI as nihilistic violent extremists.
A lot of it is looking for attention. They have no other way to get it. So they are violent. They're misdirected. They think the world's going to hell, which it isn't, and they are going to help it get there.
Yeah, it does sound like Antifa, honestly. We see these people lashing out, doing very, very, very violent things. I'm talking about leaving bombs at the showroom of a Tesla factory or a Tesla, the place where they sell the Tesla vehicles.
A lot of people might not say, when it comes up to the definition of a nihilist, but how are we not dealing with mental health or people that have serious issues? Because it does remind me of Antifa, because they are the type of people that, they're called Black Bloc in Minneapolis, the Baldies, back in the day. People really won't, maybe some people won't remember that. But that's what I feel like we're seeing today, because I'm not saying that we can't fix our issues, because I think if we hit it head on instead of doing all this roundabout way with our issues, with our problems, with our, redlining, we can, gentrification, badass education, violence. That's all. If you look, right, because a lot of people will say, oh, Minneapolis is such a beautiful place. Well, go over north, go over on Penn, go over on Lowry, go where hot spots are at, and do your events. I can guarantee you people won't do their events over there. Not because I'm saying people are cowards or whatever. It's because you can't protect people. Because I'm going to tell you like this. This is why you don't see BLM or any of these people talking about they want change. They don't go to where the problem is at. They make you go to away from the problem. They make you go to yell at empty buildings, or that they're not even working, or it's the weekend, or it's nighttime. Like, come on. When are we going to finally confront? We need to be confrontational. I'm not saying that we got to be violent, but we got to be confrontational. And confrontational doesn't mean that violence. It means that when you see something, you say something. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're a hater, you're this, you're that. You have no reason to be saying because you're a sex offender, or what do you mean? Half the legislators, I shouldn't say half, but some of our legislators have their own skeletons in their closet. I'm just public with mine. You don't see Mary Franson out here talking about she was a hoe back in the day, about all the dirty ass relationships she be having at the state capitol. You don't see that. But if you go look in court papers, you will see that. The same thing with Steve Drzowski. Y'all want to, this is the thing. I'm so tired of people throwing stones, but knowing goddamn well you got a glass motherfucking house and you shouldn't be throwing shit. I'm going to be honest. That's what a lot of people do. They can, on my post on, Facebook or Twitter, most times they're not even, I don't get replies from or responses or engagement or anything from black males. What I get is liberal white females or transgender women pretend, you know what I'm saying? It's never straight black men, because they have me blocked. Because I'm going to tell you like this, all these people talking about Cortez Rice, I'll tell you, like, how are you okay with the man that is not comfortable sleeping with men, but doesn't do it in public, was engaged to a woman, but he sleeps with men. Tell me that's not fucking crazy. That's how that's literally how we have our leaders. There's no leader in Minneapolis that you literally can't say that they don't have a problem. Or their house is not in order. Because I will tell you, like, I see a lot of people, oh, that's just my stepson. But even though you've been together 8 or 9 years or 10 years, even though he's an adult, you've been with the father, so you can't tell me that you don't have no kind of connection with the kids. That's illiterate. That's dumb as fuck to me. Because with the other kids, you go, oh, that's my son, that's my son. But then when they do bad shit, well, that ain't got nothing to do. What do you mean that has nothing to do with you? How can you be out in the community asking for change when your own kids are either gangbangers, killers, or people out here doing fraud and waste? And Minneapolis, Minnesota loves that shit. Rochester, Duluth, we love that shit. It's not a lie. It's not a lie. That's why I'm going to sit here and talk about Ward 5 today in Minneapolis, because how is it that you have a city council member all the way out in Massachusetts that cannot, according to city rules, cannot participate, cannot vote virtually? Cannot vote virtually. So when are we going to get change? When are people going to stand up instead of being silent and letting it go on? When are people finally going to stand up and say something? That's what I really want to know. When are people going to stand up and say, hey, this isn't right? This isn't right. How are you talking about you want the community to get better, but your own seeds are no good? Come on. And people talk about, oh, well, they're an adult. So you telling me that as an adult child, we're supposed to take care of, right? Because I know a lot of people that take care of adult kids. So why aren't you being responsible for their actions as an adult? Because those were your teachings. That's shit that they've seen in your life. Because a lot of people weren't activists. They were former gangbangers trying to come up. That's the same thing with our most pastors over north. Clarence Hightower, he used to be sucking dick. Clarence Hightower, suck a dick. Shiloh Temple, all in feeding our future. But you know what? Because they use over north, you don't see that. The same. I thought Joe Thompson was different, but it's part of the same. There are so many links to organizations over north Minneapolis that have for feeding our future. You don't see any accountability. The people try to ignore it. When you put it out there, oh, you're hating. It's not hating. I'm not, you know what the thing of it is? A lot of people will say it's about the crumbs. I'm already know we're getting crumbs. But with those crumbs, why don't we try to make the community better instead of people just wasting the shit fraudulently? That's why I like Philip Parrish. Because you can't have these conversations with Kristen Robbins or Scott Jensen. You can't have these the same thing with the DFL. You can't have ballot harvesting conversations with Omar Fattah, Jamal Osman, Ilhan Omar. They don't want to talk about feeding our future shit. Even though it's in black and white, they still want to lie about shit. Even though it's in black and white. So I'm asking people, what are you going to stand for? Are you going to continue standing for nothing? Are you going to stand for something? Because I really don't see a lot of people standing for something.
Think right now, bombing Tesla vehicles. Imagine like how they lashed out when they thought Elon Musk was stealing their information and taking away their benefits from them, right? We saw people pulling over Tesla vehicles and punching old women that were just driving to work or something because they hated Elon Musk so much. Yeah, these people are crazy, man. these leftist extremists, even though, you know, Hakeem Jeffries looks at us and said, oh, these MAGA extremists, what's so extreme about us? We literally don't do anything but vote and go to work. Like, it's not even close to similar.
The FBI first used the phrase in court papers regarding a Wisconsin teen who killed his parents and hatched a plan to assassinate President Trump and overthrow the U.S. government. An agent wrote that the goal of nihilistic violent extremists, quote, derived primarily from the hatred of society at large and a desire to bring about its collapse by sowing indiscriminate chaos, destruction, and social instability. The FBI noted the Wisconsin teen writing in Cyrillic alphabet, just like the disturbing journals of Annunciation Catholic Church shooter Robin Westman. Much of Westman's manifesto mirrors that nihilistic philosophy. In one entry, Westman wrote about sitting with hate and contempt for this world, and later, I just want to inflict that pain on the whole world.
They want destruction, whether they create it themselves or whether they're a part of it. That's kind of their goal, because they've given up. They've just given up.
Now, the FBI is yet to officially weigh in on how they classify Westman. Retired Special Agent in Charge O'Hara says that the FBI unit that focuses on criminal profiles likely will use information that they gather in hopes of helping local authorities try to prevent future shootings. Julie.
So I'm so intrigued by the fact that the Russian characters were part of this nihilistic worldview. Do you know why?
Because of the communication online, and as we've reported, Westman kind of looked up to other mass shooters and other school shooters. And in those conversations that occur online on message boards and so forth, it's known that that's how some of them communicate.
Oh, interesting. So
it's kind of learning from them.
Yeah, and getting deep into that online world where this stuff can grow and germinate. All right, interesting. Thank you, Lou.
So, I feel like the left, with their extremely violent rhetoric that they keep putting out there, oh, Trump is a dictator, he's the next Hitler. You know, they're telling you that they're stripping you of your benefits, and they're coming after your information. They're going to pull you in off the streets and arrest you. No troops on the ground, or else they're going to take over our cities. All this this fear mongering is getting out of control, literally just out of control. And it's creating violent people, man. These people are in fear in their homes. They're being brainwashed every day because of the people they listen to, like Hakeem Jeffries.
I really agree with that. I know a lot of people are going, oh, no, that's not how it is. That's how it is. And that's completely how it is. The minute you disagree with these people, they block you. It's not that they have smart debates or, the right answers or no. It's name calling. It's call you militant and it's the same thing with when you have on the right, they call you a Democrat, and then the left calls you a Republican. When you're neither. I don't like neither party. I think both parties are bullshit. And they brought us, both parties have stuck the knife in and black people's back. And Democrats have slowly, and so have Republicans, but it's all hogwash. It's all shit that they only say during election time. So with that being said, I want to talk about multiple Minnesota programs are losing federal funding for school mental health grants. That also goes with Rochester Public Schools. So listen to, I forget her name. I think that is a woman. But breaking news, Carrie Levin.
It's mental health. Those are the two phrases that get thrown around as what's to blame in the wake of deadly mass shootings like the one we had at Annunciation Church. We've talked about both this week. Tonight, we're going to take a close look, however, at the federal grant program for school mental health in Minnesota and the changes that have led to programs in our state losing their funding. Here's Danny Spiewak.
After the 2022 mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, Democrats and Republicans in Congress negotiated a landmark gun violence prevention bill known as the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. The law, signed by President Biden, included $1 billion for school mental health grants.
Despite the naysayers, we can make meaningful progress.
The grants included more than $10 million for two projects at the University of Minnesota School Psychology Program. known as Project Lyme and Project Aware, allowing graduate students to provide mental health services in local districts like Minneapolis and St. Paul public schools.
To provide teams of students that we could deploy out to high-need buildings in the district to better support student mental health.
But Associate Professor Faith Miller says those grants are being terminated at the end of the year due to sweeping changes made by the U.S. Department of Education under the Trump administration.
It's very chaotic, very uncertain, and I think a lot of us are wondering, who's going to be paying the cost of this at the end of the day? It's going to be the students and families that we've been working to support.
The cancellation of these grants came up at a news conference this week from Bloomington Mayor Tim Bussey.
If you truly believe that mental health is part of the solution here, if you're not just swapping out thoughts and prayers for mental health solutions, it's time to speak up.
The Trump administration takes a different view. A U.S. Department of Education spokesperson says it's not canceling the funding, but will reaward the money at the end of the year, saying in a statement the department is strengthening the mental health grant programs and running a new competition to fund mental health practitioners on the ground working with local schools and students. This is a departure from the Biden administration's implementation of the program that instead focused on illegally awarding grants based on the mental health professional's race or sex. But the University of Minnesota's program has not shied away from its goal of increasing the number and diversity of school psychologists.
Having a workforce that represents the individuals you're serving is a really important thing. And so really disappointed to see that specifically was of issue to the current administration.
The University of Minnesota School Psychology Program appealed the termination of their grants, but they told us one of those appeals has already been denied. Meanwhile, the Rochester Public Schools are also losing a school mental health program as part of these cuts. The district told us it's appealing too. It hasn't heard back.
And that's what we're going to have. And here in Minnesota, we're going to have a lot of school districts that are going to depend on taxpayers to fund them because our federal government isn't. If we have certain policies, if school districts have certain policies, if they do certain things when it comes to bathrooms and when it comes to sports, we're not going to get money from the feds. We're not as long as we got a Republican governor in office. We're not going to get money from the feds. They can fight in court all they want. But instead of fighting it in court, why don't you just do the right thing? That's what I don't understand is why can't people, instead of just sitting here complaining about, I used to be one of those complainers, I admit it all day, but I sit here daily and try to figure out what we can do differently. And sometimes that includes calling people out. That's not because I want to. It's because we have to. The same way we're calling out politicians, we have to call out leaders in our communities because they don't do jack. And how you notice, most of them are Democrats. Am I right or am I wrong? You can't go over to North Minneapolis unless you're a DSA or DFL because the minute they hear Republican, you can't do that. The minute they hear Republican. And that's just I think that he said that earlier this week, Rev, when he was talking about Laverne. But to me, Laverne isn't a Republican. Laverne to me is a conservative, and he's an independent candidate. Maybe back in the day, he had the Republican thing. But to me, the Laverne that I know and I've met, I don't see him as a Republican. I see him as a conservative. And to me, there is a big ass difference between Republicans and conservatives, which people don't want to talk about, because I'm not okay with you can be who you want to be, but I'm not okay with making legislation and laws and ordinances for you, because you can choose to be that. You know what I'm saying? You choose. I can't choose to be black, as most people who are black. We can't choose, but we can choose to be a boy or girl like everybody else. But I choose to be a boy, a man, where most activists prefer to be men but cosplaying women. And I don't get that. We think that that's change. We think that that's going to make a difference. It isn't. It is not one way in hell going to make a difference. And that's we can sit here and go back and forth about the Epstein shit. But we have people that are alive that are coming out and saying shit and be like, hey, your government is lying to you. No matter how much Trump tries to downplay this shit, and I don't, some people might say it's political, whatever, blah, blah, blah. These are real victims. These are people that we know that have been in federal court, grand juries. So instead of us yelling out for the Epstein lists, why don't we pay attention to the victims and see what they're saying? Because I'm going to play that a little bit for you just in a minute as well, you know, and that's one thing that we're going to talk about. Epstein's ghost. Epstein's survivor speaks out after House dumps DOJ files. Now, a lot of people might not know about the big, I think it was like 30,000 something pages that they released of pretty much shit that we've already, stuff that we've already seen. What the hell? Oh, no, where's that at? Oh, man, I need to forget that. What we're going to say. Yeah, because I will be talking about Ellison, but not right now. I don't know why that video is still up there. Let's see what this man. Epstein survivor speak out. Hold on a minute.
Cereal tastes better with a blue spoon. Now you can enjoy creamy, fresh frozen custard mixed with
Good Thursday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. A look from our nation's capital this morning, where today Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith will speak on the Senate floor. They're pushing for tougher gun laws after the deadly mass shooting at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis that killed 2 kids and injured 21 others. This all comes after Vice President J.D. Vance stopped in Minneapolis to visit families and victims of the shootings. Now those families are asking Vance to take it a step further.
All right,
I'm back.
With their message. I'm back. Now here is Epstein and the victims that spoke out. This is news, ABC News
Or give up,
Live.
and we will be on the front lines of this battle.
By show of hands, who's satisfied at this point, up to this day, with the current administration's reaction to the Epstein case? No one is satisfied.
History is watching, and so are the women who will come after us.
We matter now. We are here today, and we are speaking, and we are not going to stop speaking.
I'm Lindsay Davis here on Capitol Hill, where today Jeffrey Epstein accusers and survivors talk very publicly about their very private stories. We are here to talk to them and hear what they'd like to see happen now.
To those in power, hear us clearly. Do your job.
Survivors asking lawmakers to unseal files related to the federal investigation into Epstein, a convicted sex offender who died in jail in 2019.
Epstein was not just a serial predator. He was an international human trafficker.
Standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with a simple goal of justice and the truth exposed.
Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law.
From Florida to New Mexico to New York City, even the UK. These brave women say they were exploited by Epstein all over the globe. But their unifying mission brings them together here in the nation's capital with a group of lawmakers.
We're here not as partisans, we're here as patriots. I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise, and the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
Marina Lacerda is one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers. She was listed as minor victim number 1 in the 2019 Epstein indictment.
It's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. Today, I stand here with the women who have really helped me to find the strength to come out and come forward to share my story for the very first time.
She has never been publicly identified and never spoken publicly until now. Let's go back, and forgive me because I'm going to try to ask you some of these things from the past that you may not remember. But let's just start with your childhood. I know you were born in Brazil, then you moved to Astoria.
Yes.
And what was your upbringing like?
In Brazil, it was great. I really had a great experience from 1 until 8. I came to New York when I was 9 years old. My mother came before me. I stayed in Brazil for a year or so. I later on came. But when I came, my mother had met my stepfather at the time. And I would say, I don't know, 2-3 months after that, I started to get sexually abused by my stepfather. From 8 till 13 or 12, it really sucked my life. Like, I really hated that time.
And on top of that, there were financial constraints.
After my stepfather left and got arrested, and my mom couldn't get a job or whatever the case was, so I started working. And I think that's what kind of led me to Jeffrey Epstein. You know, a girl saw me that, you know, I was struggling and I needed to make meets ends, and she was like, hey, like, I have a gig for you.
What did she say the gig was?
She had said that, you know, I was going to massage somebody, but I wasn't expecting what led on to that day.
And how old are you at the time?
I just turned 14.
After you went the first time, you give the massage. Who gives you $300?
The first time, the girl did. He handed it to her, and she gave it to me. I went there a couple more times with her, but then I decided then I went on my own because he asked me to come by myself.
He would call you directly?
He would have one of his secretaries do it. So he would see me, I'd say 2-3 times a week in the beginning, you know, because when he has somebody new in his life, he likes to see them a lot. So I went there a whole bunch of times, and, you know, it led to, unfortunately, he forced me to have sex with him, basically. I really had no choice.
You would describe it as rape.
You know, it's weird because it wasn't like he raped me, but he like...
But you were 14.
I didn't go in there thinking that it was going to end up like this. He was a brain surgeon, and he had connections with, you know, Victoria's Secret. So I thought that if I just played along, that I wouldn't be this immigrant from Brazil, you know, and that I would have something to look forward to, you know.
Over time, how much money would you say you got from Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know, but I definitely, you know, I used to see him 2-3 times a week. You know, that's almost $900, $1,000, right?
Did he ever ask you to bring your friends or recruit?
He did, eventually. He did. He definitely didn't want anybody older than 18. 17 was really a cutoff line for him.
In 2008, about 1 year after she last saw Epstein, Marina was approached by the FBI about their case on Epstein and spoke to a lawyer that she says Epstein provided.
I went to his office. When I got there, I was like, should I say the truth? Like, should I be honest? He was like, you need to be very honest. You need to be very honest about everything. you need to speak the truth. So how am I going to speak the truth if Jeffrey hired this lawyer for me and he's the abuser of many women, right? So I did speak the truth because he told me to. And I left and he's like, we'll be in touch. I don't remember him calling. I just remember it going away. Just like it never happened.
Nothing ever happened.
Nothing. I really thought he was going to be scared and stop because I got subpoenaed and he almost went to jail.
When did you realize that your testimony was so critical, leading ultimately to Epstein's arrest?
It didn't hit me until yesterday.
It took years after Marina Lacerda's initial contact with the FBI for Epstein to be arrested. When did you realize that your testimony was so critical, leading ultimately to Epstein's arrest?
I think recently, I didn't know that, I just found out that I was victim number one. I had no idea, to be honest with you. A lot of the things I think that were supposed to be protected, in 2007, 2008, it didn't happen with the FBI. So I think my name just got thrown around everywhere, and I didn't know that. So I didn't find out until now, and I'm still trying to process that, to be honest with you.
You and I were discussing earlier, you have a young daughter. Have you shared any of your story with her?
I had to tell her because I'm out here speaking, and I ran away from it in 2008. I ran away from it in 2019. There's nothing in life that stays under the sun. It always comes out to light. So I did tell her, and that was tough. But she's so little and so naive. She's like, she's like, Mom, you're such a badass. I'm sorry, give me a minute.
Oh, sure. Do you think that the Epstein files should be released to the public?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we are all done.
In 2019, Epstein was charged with trafficking and abusing underage girls. Those girls, now women, are coming forward and sharing their stories.
Jonalisa Jones, Shantae Davies, Courtney Wild, Anushka DeGiorgio, Lisa Phillips,
Bailey Robson,
Marina Lacerda.
If you all each had one word or sentence, how would you describe Jeffrey Epstein?
A master manipulator,
a charismatic monster.
It's hard with one word because to become a master manipulator, you have to be lots of things to lots of people, and you have to be that person who's all things to all people. And he was very charismatic. He could be very charming. He could be very cruel. He could be whatever the situation called for, and that's why it was so terrifying, because he seemed to be all powerful.
Years after his death, Epstein's alleged crimes have continued to be the subject of intense bipartisan scrutiny, especially now as the Trump administration finds itself in the midst of a firestorm over its decision not to release any additional investigative files on Epstein, after initially promising to produce a so-called client list of people connected to Epstein who may have participated in illegal acts. Right after you all finished that press conference that you had on the steps of the Capitol, in the Oval Office, Donald Trump was asked about his reaction. The president said, "This is a Democrat hoax that never ends, trying to get people to talk about something that is totally irrelevant to the success of our country." Just want to get your reaction to that.
I am a Republican. I voted for you. Don't do that. Party affiliation should never matter. The whole purpose of me pointing out that I was a Republican is because I knew exactly what this would bring. I knew exactly the digs and, they must be Democrat, they must be on this side. This is not a political war. This is about young women that were molested and abused and then lied to, gaslit, and have their trauma weaponized on them for political gain. I will be more than happy to meet him halfway. I will come to him if he needs me to. I would love to sit down so he can look me in my face and tell me that I'm a hoax. This is very real. All these women and these people have sacrificed an incredible amount of time, energy, and patience, and our patients are wearing thin.
Hey guys, did you know some drivers are ditching their car insurance and they're
That's
doing
crazy
this?
as hell. But to just know that, you know, not to make it political or anything like that, but I'm assuming, and this is all opinion again, that I'm assuming it's a lot of Democrats. And they're probably giving money to those candidates to make sure that their dark secrets do not come out. Even though that it was kids, and we always hear, "Oh, protect our babies, protect our babies." But every time it's time to protect our babies, their government's nowhere near. So I don't fully understand that, of how are we asking people for help who have never actually kind of helped us. We're always begging. You know, I mean, I think about Brian Hooper. 27 years this man was locked up for a crime he didn't commit. 27 years gone. 27 years he can never get back. 27 years of turmoil. 27 years of sitting in segregation. 27 years of sitting in a cell, knowing that you're innocent. That's why I feel for, like, you know, Philip Vance or Cornelius Jackson, and there's so many of them. There's so many. And yet, so if people are innocent in jail, and most of them are innocent in prison, especially when they were kids, but had life, and they're innocent. This is, you know, people ask me all the time, well, how can you say that, you know, certain effects are still going on? Well, they are. It's just different. Slavery isn't, you don't see people chained up. We're now in jail cells. We're now in jail cells. So when people talk about that prison to school pipeline, how can that, that's what I'm saying. Of like, how can people sit here and with a straight motherfucking face say that these problems don't exist or it's a hoax when it's real life? It's just the fact that you've never had that life. You never had to experience it, or the money's made you forget that life. And that's the way I feel it is for a lot of politicians, a lot of nonprofits. They get paid so that they're a distraction and deflection to the issues that we face. How is that not? People give them donations. Keep on talking about this shit so that we get steered off from actually talking about what's important. Look at the news medias. How come most media sites give out some kind of, it's all political, whatever way they lean, because it's either a liberal or progressive type of news media, or it's a conservative Republican, and they're totally different, even though they're written the same. Just the Democrat papers like to leave out most of the information, and then the conservative probably put some information they shouldn't have, they don't need to put in there to make it a more sensational drama type story, because you can put the truth in there and people are going to attach to that. You don't have to, what's crazy with the truth is you don't have to put makeup on it. You don't have to mirror it. You don't have to put it in disguise. You don't have to, it's just the truth. It's that over the years that people have lied to protect us. They say it's always to protect. That's one thing that I always said. It was to protect people. I lied so that I had to face all of it and that there wasn't be no blowback. To keep them all, it was either me telling a white lie to get me out of a situation where I was either in trouble or needed help. But now that people tell the truth, see, people don't like truth tellers. That's why I lie. You know what's crazy is, even when it came down to this interview, You know, I seen there was the press conference, there was some other Republican, it wasn't just Massey. There was MTG was out there, and I think a few others. So it's not just we can call it political, because to be honest, there is some inside of it. I guess the Democrats are talking about release the list. And there's some Republicans. But why do we make it political when it really comes down to right and wrong? And why do we have court amendments or court statutes saying that you can't tell people the truth? Why do we got to put in data requests, our Freedom of Information Acts? Why? We should just be able to get the truth. We shouldn't have to sit here and do all this shit just to get to the truth. Why? Why do we got to do all that extra shit just to get to the truth? And I don't understand that. If people understood how many times I've done data requests, and I didn't learn from a nigga. I learned from everybody, from the white people that y'all like to call racist. They tried to educate me. All the so-called black leaders. Now and there's some, I can say Rev Tim Christopher, Laverne, Marcus, Angela. And I have got into it with some of these people. Not over because I don't love them and that I'm not loyal to them or anything like that. No, it's because sometimes our ideologies might focus on similarities together alike, but that's not always how it is. But we have the goal of that we want to make our communities better. And that's all we need. It shouldn't be political. But of course, that's when you involve politics. So let me get back to this real quick.
Satisfied at this point, up to this day, with the current administration's reaction to the Epstein case? No one is satisfied. What would bring about satisfaction?
Pass this bill. Transparency, full transparency.
Lisa, let's talk about your encounters with Epstein. Can you share about his grip that you described Epstein having on the modeling industry?
After I was abused on the island, I didn't speak to him for months and months, and his secretaries called me every day. But he was like, oh, I've got you. You know, I'm great friends with this, owner of the big agency that everybody wanted to be with at that time. Then I was going out to these parties and charity events and involved in his world. But he never let me forget that he helped me out. So it wasn't until 4 years later I was basically able to escape and move from New York to Los Angeles to get away.
You've talked about how it was layered to a point where you almost didn't think of it as abuse.
I was so confused over it for many years because back then people looked at him like, he was mysterious, he wasn't a playboy and out there, but everyone looked at him with respect. And so it wasn't until he passed away and the survivors started speaking out where I realized that some of the men he had sent me to, which I thought were just business relationships, many other women were sent to the same man. I was going through like a lot of turmoil over it and then trying to suppress it. So a lot of this has come about for me in the last few years.
Epstein is estimated to have abused a large number of girls. The Epstein Victims Compensation Fund paid out more than $120 million to 136 survivors. Another 52 women filed and privately settled claims. We see 7 survivors here today. Brad or Brittany, can you give us a sense of how many young women you can say for sure are survivors of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would say we know the names, identities of over 300 safely, and that's probably half.
And 250 of those who one of us has personally spoken with to confirm they're in fact victims.
With regard to the interactions that you had with Ghislaine Maxwell, what has been your response to the DOJ going and talking with her, to her being put into a minimum security camp, and even in talks about, potentially her being pardoned?
She has lied repeatedly since I've known her, and I knew Ghislaine Maxwell very, very well for many, many years. So I really think there are not many people out there who are taking what Ghislaine Maxwell says seriously. But it's now the responsibility, once again, of Congress to put in the action. She was 100% involved. She was complicit, she was enabling, she was enmeshed with Jeffrey Epstein. She would come up with ideas of how to please him so that she would have her needs met. And that often involved her participating in different schemes of abuse and coming up with the specific ideas of how to abuse us.
Yeah, I'll just kind of add to that it's especially scary for me because she's literally 2 hours from where I live now. And so I have had quite a few nightmares, if I'm honest, since she's been transferred. I guess my answer is that I still feel fearful of her, to be honest. I think she's I know she's a very calculated person, and I don't feel like she's going to be where she is very long. She's probably going to get out somehow.
Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years for sex trafficking, but has proclaimed her innocence, insisting she did not witness any inappropriate behavior by any of Epstein's powerful friends, and said a long rumored list of Epstein's high-profile clients does not exist. By show of hands, is there anybody who would support Ghislaine Maxwell getting out of prison?
Only if I'm there when she gets out. And we could show up collectively.
Lisa, just share with us what you've discussed today about the potential release of names.
Several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. Yes. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors.
Well, I was just saying, if they're not going to release it, then we're going to compile our own list. And just speaking to not just us survivors that have come forward, but many others that are silent, that have answers and are scared.
I think it's safe to say that any person who has been sexually abused, assaulted, harassed, quite often there's fear in coming forward and using your voice. Is there an added level of fear with regard to Epstein and some of the celebrity or well-known powerful people who are involved here?
Of course there is.
Absolutely.
I'm probably more afraid of the people we don't know about.
Yeah.
The people you don't know about, the people who know that they may be on any kind of list that is.
The people who are purposely trying to get that list to stay away or not be on that list, that's who scares me.
Because the more you speak out, the more harassed you get and stalked online. And I mean, you've had people following you.
Oh, yeah.
How many of you have daughters?
Damn.
Well,
and how? Yes, also?
Children.
Sons.
Yeah.
Sons, okay. How has motherhood changed your outlook, your
That's
perspective?
crazy. I hope that they do come out and there's more of a, we're waiting on the government's list. So I think it'll be kind of refreshing to actually see some people that are actually the victims in that part of the government want to come out. So I want to talk about Ward 5 in Minneapolis, and I want to talk about how right now their council member is in Massachusetts. He's not in Minneapolis. He's not in Minnesota. So how do we allow $109,000? I'm not saying that he didn't. No, never mind that, because I think that's stupid. But let's get into Jeremiah Ellison and how some Minneapolis City Council leaders support his and I support his Harvard fellowship, but I also do believe that Ward 5 deserves representation. There's a lot of things going on right now, and to not be your ward, not to be represented is kind of weird to me, and saying, like, why are you even still a council member? Why not just give up your seat? Is it because of how the vote goes? And they won't win some, or what is it? And I'm really want to know, like, why are people, especially in Ward 5, okay with the council member who has a full-time internship, fellowship, whatever you want to call it. It's a paid one. And he cares more about, I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, but you could have dropped out. You could have resigned to being a city council person for Ward 5 so that other people who care about Ward 5 and want to see things come in there and see that community be energized with economy and with so many opportunities, but yet he's in Massachusetts.
Our focus on your tax dollars tonight and the Minneapolis City Council member working from Massachusetts.
5 Eyewitness News broke this story last night at this time. But after council leaders did not respond to requests for an explanation, R.J. Coles went to ask them about it in person today. So what they have to say, Jay?
Well, Kevin, City Council President Elliott Payne has suggested reconfiguring committee assignments to cover council member Jeremiah Ellison's absence. He's at a fellowship at Harvard University that runs past the end of his term at the end of the year. And right now, he's still getting paid his 6-figure city salary. Today, I went to a committee meeting and asked how Ellison's constituents are being represented while he's gone. How are you going to handle the Ellison situation?
What aspect?
Yeah, how are you going to handle the committee assignments?
It's a conversation with the body.
I mean, are you going to be able to make sure the north side is represented on the north side with the committees?
All of the council structure is decided by the body.
In a text message response to an interview request Tuesday, City Council member Jeremiah Ellison told me he can still do his job while away. He said, quote, "I will continue my workload as normal, virtually. I will be present for most full city council meetings. Overall, nothing remarkable happening. But city council rules do not allow remote voting in committee or full city council meetings." Because he can't attend virtually according to city council rules. Does that concern you at all?
He can watch virtually. Any committee meeting, any member of the public can watch. And he's going to be in person for those full votes.
Are you confident the north side's going to get the representation it needs with him gone?
I think that that's a conversation that Councilmember Ellison has with his constituents every day.
I also asked the city council vice president how they would handle the situation.
How's what going to be handled?
Ellison's absence.
He's coming to council meetings.
I checked committee meetings and full city council meetings over the past month.
Ellison is absent.
Ellison is listed as absent 8 times, including 2 meetings he missed today. Now, how this all gets resolved could come to a head next Tuesday when it's expected to be discussed at a city council committee meeting. Lindsay?
All right, Jay, thank you so much.
Big retailers don't want you to have this zoom lens, but there's nothing they can do to...
So that is kind of weird to me of how, a city council member is in a whole nother state where you represent people in a... and I know Minnesota has been okay with that because we've had leaders of the library and other people that weren't even living in Minnesota be ahead of directors or CEOs of a Minnesota actual company. So I can see where some city council members think this is okay because, it's Harvard. It's the name recognition. No, we need somebody, what's crazy to me is like, why aren't people, and I know there was a Ward 5 forum last night, but why wasn't that brought up? Was that talked about? Was that something that a conversation, because there was a Ward 5 forum last night, was it one of the questions of how you felt about a Ward 5 council member being in another state? And then city council rules, the charter says that there is no participation or no votes virtually. So I really want to know. That is something that I really do feel like people do need to know. We need to answer with. So that's one thing that I will never understand it, because it's like, how can people say they care about a community? I'm not saying that he doesn't, but how can you when you're not even here? You're not even here to fight in the trenches. You're not here to go to bat for them. You're not. You can't fight online like you can fight in person. That's a big difference. And I really, truly don't understand of how
people can be okay with that. And I will really, truly, honestly never understand. Because how can you care about community, but then not even be here? That's one thing that I will never fully understand is how can people say they care about something, but not even there. Not even in the state. And that's how I felt like in 2022. It was like all the Republican candidates that were, with Scott Jensen, with Jim Schultz. The only one I really, honestly, was Ryan Wilson. And he was running for state auditor. I felt like Cicely Davis wasn't the right person. It was, nobody knew who some of these people were until it was election time. That's not going to win votes. It's not how you win votes. That's not how you talk to people. No, you're there even when it's not even election time. Because where are you when it's not election time? You're minding your business or you're handling your business. So, I'm gonna get up out of here today. But I'm gonna get up out of here. You know what? Maybe I will play a little bit more of this. That conversation that they were having. About the Minneapolis shooter, because I know I never did get to the shit about the mom. So maybe we'll get into that. That ain't even up here. What? This is weird. Okay, here I can, at least I'll be able to find it. Yeah, what the fuck? I think we were at like 13 minutes.
Gun laws like that in their state, people are still going to bring weapons in there. Even if you did it in all the red states, they're still going to bring weapons from out of the country into this country. You're still going to have illegal weapons pouring into the country as well. Now, again, we got Alex Stein over here on Sky News, Australia's news network. And he was talking about that the mother had no choice but to affirm her son's gender identity. Okay, so I haven't watched this yet. I wanted to watch this with you guys so we can kind of react to it together. But let's check it out.
Now, we're finding out more and more about the latest trans shooter, Robert Westman. Andy No reports the father of the Minnesota gunman was the one affirming the shooter's gender dysphoria. The mother, Mary Jane, who has been attacked online for her part, was allegedly pressured by everyone around her to sign the court document approving the transition. The shooter himself admitted in his manifesto that his mother, a devout Christian, was not supportive of the transition and he resented her for it. A source told Andy No that the children always went behind Mary Grace's back to Jim for approval of doing things she didn't approve.
Now, this is what I keep hearing. I hear that, and I looked this up too earlier, but she is a registered Republican, the mother, and we may have gotten the mother wrong about all this. It may have been the father that was really pushing this woke agenda into their son. So we may have gotten this wrong. Honestly, I may have gotten this wrong anyway. So I'm still trying to figure out which parent kind of had like more of a hand in causing this to happen. But let's just hear what they got to say. And because I heard some things out of his notebook, some other YouTube channels were talking about what they were translating what's going on in his notebook, and we could talk about that tomorrow if you guys would like. But let's keep on going with this video.
Joining me now is comedian and host of Primetime with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, these revelations are pretty astonishing. In the aftermath of this shocking mass shooting, the mother was maligned, though it appears she had little choice but to affirm her son's transition, particularly in a state like Minnesota.
No, Rita, you're exactly right. But let's just be honest, Florida.
And hey, guys, we have almost 2,000 people watching. Please hit that like button, man. We got 300 likes, almost 2,000 people watching. If you don't mind, take a second, hit that like button. Let's get back to it.
Defying a mental illness like gender dysphoria basically just says to Robert that Robert was born in the wrong body. And I feel like once you kind of make that diagnosis in a young person, it really is almost impossible to have an adult life without a lot of pain and struggle. And I think that's why Robert did this, is because Robert decided to change his gender, was not happy as a woman, and really felt like they had no other options. And, you know, I was at the state legislature in Texas talking about the suicide rate being extremely high in transgenders. And it's just a sad reality when it comes to mental health. And we're not treating it by cutting off or giving hormones that affect people's puberties or cutting off their genitals. So, you know, we really need to take a look at this. And I don't know how much blame we can put on the mother, but she's certainly not immune from criticism for sure. I just don't know if she's responsible for the death of these poor children.
Well, the killer himself wrote, gender and weed effed up my head. I wish I had never tried experimenting with either. How much responsibility does a parent have? It looks like the mother wasn't in favour of this, though it's been reported she felt pressured to affirm this transition. But if you've got a parent who's facilitating this, perhaps even encouraging it, including these irreversible treatments and in some cases surgeries, how much responsibility does a parent like that have?
Well, if Robert Westman was still at home and he was 16 or 17, I do think the parent would have a lot more responsibility. But the fact that he was in his 20s and this happened, I don't want to blame the parents. They're obviously going through a very difficult time. And once again, they did reinforce this mental illness, so they are partially to blame. But, you know, nobody would probably expect a person to get a gun, go to a Catholic church and shoot a 7 and 10-year-old. I mean, that is just unthinkable. It's unfathomable. So, I mean, once again, it is partially for them to blame, but I don't know how much legal ramifications they'll face for this terrible tragedy because, you know, Robert Westman was of age.
Now, Californian authorities have responded to President Trump's decision to revoke Kamala Harris's Secret Service detail by ordering the California Highway Patrol to protect her instead. They had American TV personality Spencer Pratt fired up. Here's what he had to say to California.
Now, let me see if this is still here. Yeah. So this is what made me, like, first of all,
let's read about him.
All right. This is what made me think about that the mother was more involved with this than we thought, right? Because here she is on his Instagram account a couple hours after the shooting happened. She says she took this picture. That's her picture on Robin's account. She says, please stop commenting hateful messages on this account. Please be respectful. You never know how hard it is for someone born in the wrong body. Don't judge before you know. Hashtag love over hate. One action doesn't shape someone. Okay, so when I saw this, I'm like, immediately I was thinking like, okay, she's extremely woke and she's the one that pushed all this onto her son. And then she also did this one too, where it says, people are the real problem. Why point out that she is trans? She was also human. Why not go attack all humans? Which he was obviously like not doing the trans thing right before the shooting happened, right? He just looked like a regular old dude, in my opinion. Don't use her as a reason to attack other trans. How dare you? Love before hate. And I can't read what that little text says down there. But this was her right on his account, right a couple hours after the shooting happened. I don't know how she got access to it. I don't know, right? There's no way to tell. I mean, maybe she knows how to log in to his account or something. I don't know. And of course, this was them on her account, Mary Grace Westman, her Instagram account, 2019. You know, I guess these are her daughters too. They're siblings. And then that's the shooter right there. And yeah, we saw this picture. This was in 2020. Robin on Robin's account.
That is wild as hell. All the things that I went into the mass shooter in Minneapolis, and come to find out that he was looking for guns, dressed up as like he was his natural born self, a man. But then when he did the shooting, he was cosplaying a woman. So I can understand why some people have maybe thought he was trans, but to me, it just seemed like a confused young man. So with that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here. And this is Joey Badass, Ty Dollar Sign, Ready to Love, and I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Catch you later.
I think I'm ready to love. Damn, you look good. I think I'm ready to love you. Ready. Think I'm ready to love.